start with this. Okay, this is my beautiful, I thought I did a good job here of drawing a brain. This is your brain, right? These are skills going into our brain. This right here, this thing controls everything. This is our biggest asset. This is what we got to be pouring into. This is why we do so much personal development. That's why we're on this show right now. This is why we're trying to learn as much as possible, because we don't want to take the stairs to the 80th floor. We want to take the elevator, right? We want to have the knowledge so that we're able to implement, and that's how we build skills. We get the reps in. We get the reps in, and that builds the skills. And remember, skills build strong mindsets. And if you can't have a strong mindset, you can't be an incredible entrepreneur. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to have the confidence to go through the tough times. You're not going to go through all of the reps and the repetitious boredom, and it's going to take you longer than you expect. And this is the quicksand. This is the trap. This is the banana leaves over the pit in the ground that has all the spikes there, is the time it takes to get really good at this business. Now, if you have experience in sales, if you have experience, maybe you have retail experience, maybe you've been a server for a long time, maybe you've been a nurse or a truck driver or a police officer or somebody that's had a lot of human interaction and connection. But if you're younger, you got to have as many conversations as possible. If you don't have a lot of experience speaking with people and understanding the different personalities, it takes some time to build the skills. But read this, and it's kind of like confusing. Matt read it. I was like, Matt, does this make sense? Matt's like, I don't know, explain it. And so I did. But learn the skill of making money, making the money before the skills of your money making more money, okay? Build the skills of bringing in incredible income before you go and put it into investments. That's the breakdown. I hear it all the time, Brent, I've got $2,500. Where should I invest? In this thing, for sure. Because this thing is gonna make you the most money. Your brain is gonna make you the most money, for sure. What you know, the knowledge that you have, and when you implement that knowledge by taking massive imperfect action every single day, that's the key. But if you're gonna be putting your money into some, cryptocurrency or some S&P 500 or whatever else, that's great, but your brain's gonna make you way higher of a return than you just putting it into a passive investment. So let's build this up. Remember, 375 of the 400 billionaires did it through business, did it through owning businesses, not through owning real estate. Think about that. It's really interesting. Now let's get into it, all right? Let's go from 100,000 a year to 100,000 a month. Really breaks down, let's break this down into market sizes, okay? Because this is important. Not everybody's in the same market. So there's small markets, there's medium markets, and there's large markets. We will define a small market as 250,000 people or less. The population is 250,000 or less. Okay, that is a small market. The average deal size in those markets is $10,000. That's pretty typical. I mean, I think if you're running more of the middleman model, where you are taking other people's deals and selling their deals to your cash buyers, a more disposition model, if you're familiar with that, it's going to be half that. But if you're going and you're sourcing these deals from realtors or from direct to property owners, $10,000 is going to be the average deal size. Now, you have a couple routes, right? There's only 3 ways to get leads. Leads is the first step in our business, right? We have to get leads, we have to convert leads, and then we have to decide on what our exit strategy is. There's only 3 parts to real estate investing, 3 parts of the business, okay? And so with inbound, so the three parts of lead generation are referrals. That's when people are just sending you deals because they know you're awesome and that you buy houses. So you got to be really loud, but that takes time. You've got outbound, where you're making calls, knocking on doors, or sending texts out to property owners to get a response so that you can open up a conversation. Or inbound, where you're doing marketing. You're sending out direct mail, you're doing bandit signs, you're doing pay-per-click, doing pay-per-lead, you have maybe a billboard or radio or TV or in any marketing, right? You put an ad in a newspaper, whatever it is. Old school. Every course that I took in real estate investing from like 2016 and before, it was all put an ad in your local newspaper that you buy houses. Maybe that still works. I don't know. I never did it, but that's interesting. But it's $100 per lead for inbound leads. It's typically about $100 per lead. So all that money that you're spending sending out direct mail, it's usually about $100 per lead in small markets. PPL, which is pay per lead, these are internet-based leads, are typically going to be, you want to set your budget at about 100, and it's going to take you 20 leads per deal. Okay? So if you're doing inbound, do the math with me. 100 times 20 is, you got it. Average cost is $2,000. $2,000 per deal to make $10,000. Not a bad deal. Can you afford to spend $2,000 to get a deal in a small market? It's much higher in the medium and the large markets, and we'll get into it. Or it's going to take you 20 hours. It's going to take you 20 hours of door knocking. It's going to take you 20 hours of cold calling. It's going to take you 20 hours of texting. 20 hours outbound per deal. If you're calling the niche motivated seller lists, the bigger the lists, the more saturated the lists are going to be, the easier the lists are to get, the more competition you're going to have for those conversations. But if you're really getting niche down with the resources that I'm going to show you, 20 hours outbound per deal. And that's just across the board. That's just staying really, really, really consistent. 20 hours? I haven't even called for 20 minutes. How am I going to do 20 hours? Is it worth this? The cost for inbound, you can trade it, guys. You can trade it for $2,000. You can spend the $2,000, or you could put your time and effort into it. Put your time and effort into reaching out to the property owners, initiating those conversations, building up your pipeline. This one, you're in control of your schedule. This one, you're not in control of your schedule. When these leads come in, you have to answer them live. If you've got a flexible schedule and you've got a budget, fantastic, right in the sweet spot. Right? You can trade your money for effort. But if you don't have the money and you don't have the schedule right now, and you're one of those unbelievable, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. I truly do. For the people that are going out there on their lunch break, people going out there before work, people going out there after work, and they're keeping their dream alive. They're just putting fuel into that fire inside your belly that says, I want to be different. I want to elevate the financial literacy of my whole family, of where we're at. I want to elevate the opportunities we have. You're incredible. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I swear to you, you are absolutely incredible. If you're taking action, I don't care if you're talking to a couple people a day. That's more than most people do. So have a lot of pride in that. And the more that you can do that, and the more that you can be around people doing that, it just makes everything so much better. It's always impacted me positively, being around people doing it and just taking that extra effort. Remember, exhaustion at the end of the day is the softest pillow. Does that make sense? You're incredible. Moving on. Medium markets here. All right. Medium markets are 250,000 to 1 million population. It's kind of a wide range. I might break this up into 4, but I figured let's just keep it in 3. This might have some nuance. This is the only one that really has nuance, but it's really close. The average there is going to be $15,000 per deal. $15,000 per deal. And the cost for inbound is going to be $200 per inbound lead. And you need 20 of them. You need 20 leads per deal. Now listen, there's going to be times when you get 3 leads and you get a deal. And you're going to be like, oh, this is awesome. I only have to spend $600 to get a deal. And then you might hear a podcast of people going, oh, it only takes 8 leads. It only takes 10 leads. It only takes 2 leads, whatever it is. I will say, from 20 years of experience here, I always like putting together business plans every year and really going on the side of caution, the side of, you know what, I'm going to go on the high end side of this, not the pie in the sky, rose colored glasses side of this. I want to be a little bit grittier. I want to be kind of like almost worst case, not quite worst case, but in like just realistic, something that's consistent. So stick with the 20 leads per deal on this. So what does that cost you? It's $4,000. Interesting, right? Because the other one, it costs, you make 10 grand, but it costs you 2. But here it costs you $4,000, but you make 15. And the other one, you make 8,000 net. And this one, you make 11,000 net. Well, Brent, why wouldn't I just go into a medium market instead of a small market? Interesting question to ask yourself, right? Interesting question to ask yourself. But here's the kicker, 40 hours of outbound. This used to be 20, guys. It's just there's been an adoption by the sellers of so many calls going on to them, and AI going bananas, and VAs entered the market, that the adoption from the seller is, let me put up a force field and just shut you down instantly. So it takes longer to do it. It takes longer, but 40 hours to make 15th. Well, essentially, I mean, it'll probably cost you $1,000, so you're netting 14,000 on 40 hours. Now I know what you're thinking. Perfect. 40 hours. I'll just hire a VA. They're $5 an hour, $6 an hour. I'll be able to just throw them in. It'll only cost me, I don't know, what's $5 an hour times 40? That's $200. $200 a week. I could get a deal a week for only $200. Well, that's not realistic. It's just not. The VAs that you hire that are under $20 an hour, you can 10x this. They have to call for 400 hours. So that's fine, but it's actually going to be $2,000 per deal. So you're still better than this, but you have to buy a lot more data, and you have to be wider, and you have to make sure that somebody's going to consistently be making those calls. And this could be 10x to 100x. You just have to see what the talent is of those VAs. But a lot of people go that route because they don't have the time. They just want to get the leads in, but just don't expect them to call for 40 hours and to get a deal. They're going to have to call for 400 hours. You got to get 10 callers to equal what you could do. Just something to think about. All right. Now, large markets. All right. 1 million population. All right. Average deal size, 25,000, baby. Now we're talking. Now we're doing crazy stuff. 25 grand. 25 grand. I would love if they ran a poll on the amount of people in the United States that have ever received a 5-figure check that wasn't from selling real estate, that wasn't from selling your house or something like that, like just from your earned income. I bet it's small. I bet it's under 10%. That might be generous. That might be real generous. Anyway, 25K per deal. Imagine that going into your bank account. Whoop! This is your bank account. It's just your phone. B of A. Oh, I just saw 25 grand go in there. Oh, it's the best. This will break your brain. Listen, follow this instruction. This is inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. You talk to enough people, especially if you're in a large market, you're in a major market, one of these deals is going to pop. I mean, several. You can do hundreds of these deals. We've done, I don't know, 1,000 of these deals, more. But it costs $300 per inbound lead. Sometimes it's more, guys, depending on where you're at. Like San Diego or something, it's like 1,000. Seattle, 1,000. Miami, forget about it. New York City, some of these crazy markets where people just have huge budgets because the price point of the properties are really high, it's going to be a lot more. But typically in most of the markets, it's going to be $300 per inbound lead, 20 leads per deal. That's $6 grand. And this is spot on. This is spot on with my company right now in Phoenix, right? Or 60 hours outbound per deal. Oh my gosh, Brent, what? That's crazy. Well, what if you called 15 hours a week, 4 weeks a month? That's 60 hours, and you do $25,000, and you keep 24,000 of it, 23,000 of it. Is that worth it? Could you go full time? Could you start saving? Could you pay off some debts with that? Now, obviously, you got a business partner in this thing called the IRS, right? So you can't keep it all, but it's pretty good. I mean, that's if you have a job and anything. I mean, that's just life. That's the rent that we pay to live in this country is our income tax. But 60 hours per outbound per deal. And I'll tell you, if you call 15 hours a week, every single week, consistently for 90 days, this will start popping. Why do I say for 90 days? Because typically, this is just the stats around the country. For outbound, it's about 100 days before you get paid. 100 days. So you have to go through that fire of 3 straight months, 15 hours a week, making calls, and then it starts popping month 4. And then it starts really going. But that's the toughest part, because during this time, this is when we start seeing cool Instagram posts, start seeing some cool YouTube stuff. AI's taking over. AI will do all this for you. It's gonna change the game, baby. First of all, robocalling is completely illegal. completely. FTC is all over it. It's silly. They're just setting out the line. They're just setting out the line to see who the biggest the companies are that they can go after. By the way, they're a self-funded company. I mean, not even company, well, essentially company, agency, which means they only survive if they go and take the money from people that they go after for violating TCPA laws. So think about that. But 60 hours outbound. You got to put in the work. Got to put in the work, but that's the skill that goes back to this whole thing. This goes back to, wait a second, I am really building this. I'm really building my skills inside of my brain, but it's hard. I don't want to do it. Great, then get a budget of $6,000 per deal. Get a budget of $6,000 per deal, have an open schedule, and make sure that you answer the calls live. Here's a breakdown as you start growing, because I showed you the stats. So if you want to do 100,000 in a year in a small market, you got to do 10 deals. If you want to do 100,000 in a year, you have to do 7 deals in a medium market. And then if you want to do 100,000 in a major market, you do 4 deals. But then if you want to do that a month, times it by 12. And once you times it by 12, you have to understand that your costs are going to go up because you're going to need people. But this is the structure of the business to get to $1 million plus. Okay, there's you. You've got operations. You've got acquisitions. You've got dispositions. You've got your COO. This is who's going to run your marketing. This is who's going to keep you organized. This is who's going to communicate with title. This is who's going to make sure that everybody over here is doing their job. Okay, this is essentially you when you get replaced in the business, making sure that everything happens. This is your integrator, as some people call it. Okay, you got your transaction coordinator. They're going to make sure that it takes all the pressure off of this group as well. This group should be selling or buying the property. The acquisition should be buying the property. Disposition should be selling the property. Your transaction coordinator frees up their time, right? It's like a little valve, releases the pressure. And then this is so important, guys. Your escrow officer is so critical. You need a gangster escrow officer. You need the best. Your escrow officer is as part of your team as any other position. And you don't even have to pay him hourly. You don't have to pay him a salary. They get paid through the transaction. But if you don't have an unbelievable title and escrow officer and or closing attorney on your team, it's going to add a lot of work to what you already got going on, and it's going to slow down your ability to buy and sell property. So this is a critical. And by the way, if after every 3 deals you're not sending this person a gift, you are missing out. You're making a huge mistake. You need to butter up this person. You need to tell them how important they are, because everybody treats them like trash, except for us. We gotta go with a higher standard. All right. Acquisitions. You have a set. I believe that there should be somebody in office all the time and somebody on appointments all the time. Now, if you're doing it virtually, I think there should be somebody that is pre-qualifying and doing the lead follow-up and then transitioning it over to the closer to get it locked up, either over the phone or in person. But I like doing it in person because the deals are bigger. The setter is going to do all the lead follow-up. They're going to set it up for the close. The closer is going to go lock up those deals and turn it over to the dispositions. And you have a disposition manager that sells all of your deals and builds up your cash buyer database. Got it? Awesome. And then here's a breakdown of what you can expect once you get to that $1 million plus business. Because it's not like, oh, I make $100,000 a month and it's just me doing it all. Maybe you could do 4 deals a month just yourself. I don't really know anybody that does that. I know I've gotten up to 750,000 by myself, and it was 70, 80-hour work weeks. It was Monday through Sunday type of thing, right? So these are just what you can expect. This is real life. 25% of your budget's going to go to marketing. 25% is going to go to your staff. 10% is going to go to operations, office equipment. That's your office lease. That's just some other things that you can expect for your operations. And then 40% profit. All right. Now, once you start building $1 million business, and I know this personally because I am very acquainted with the IRS. Once you get up to 2 million and plus, they're going to want your staff to be W-2'd. Yeah. And once that happens, this goes down to 20%. So you have to increase your income on the top to be able to account for this, because you're going to have all sorts of extra expenses. You don't have to worry about this right now, but at some point, just expect that, okay? And you have to make sure that the 20% that you're getting is worth the squeeze. It might be more than that. It just depends. It depends on how much you're spending here, but that's pretty typical. 25% is pretty typical. You might be able to cut into the 10%. Like I cut into the 10% because my team works from their house. I own this building, but I own this building for other businesses. It has nothing to do with my wholesaling business, my real estate business. So I'm increasing this, but then I pay health insurance. I pay W-2 unemployment taxes and all the other stuff. I don't even know. I mean, you'd have to talk to my CPA, but that's the realistic. So the question is, can you stay lean, just do this business with you and maybe an assistant, keep all the money, keep your expenses low and your personal income, go put money into your assets and just live your life? Or do you want to build a business? The margins are going to be much smaller, but the income could be a lot higher and you're not working in it, right? Just depends on what you want to do. Just depends on what you want to do to free up your life. Remember, when you look at the cash flow quadrant, you got employees, you got self-employed, you got business owner, you got investors. This one, your time is attached. This one, and I'll be dramatic, I'll grab the red marker. Oh, here we go. Your time is not attached. So you build the systems, your time is not attached here. If you're an employee or self-employed, your time is attached. Just depends on how you want to build it. But I will tell you, there is a lot of people that are living here that make a fortune, put it into assets, and then they're out of this thing in like 15, 20 years. Pretty good. So choose your own adventure, but go in with eyes wide open.